Welcome back, Shalloners. Today I want to talk about something we've been talking about a little bit and something I alluded to in a previous video, which is catty girls and haters when you're an adult. And we're going to break this down not just in terms of our own life, because I've got examples, but we're also going to tie this into Taylor Swift. She recently covered Vogue magazine, and her interview is full of red flags, not only for the victim mentality that we talked about last video, but for what not to do when it comes to dealing with a fight, and how Kim Kardashian has actually played it exactly right. But first, just want to remind you guys that if you have a love question of your own or any kind of question, find me on the Instant Go app. My username is ShallonXO and click chat to get connected. Also find me at ShallonXO on Instagram, where I let you guys weigh in on the next video topics and help me design my merch line, which is coming soon. And be sure to check out my podcast, Girl on Top, every week, where I answer your best questions from the week. So Taylor's Vogue interview, like last time I broke down the victim mentality aspect of it, and like I couldn't even go into this topic because there was just like too much already to talk about. It would have been like a 2-hour video. But so here's what we know, right? Kim and Taylor have a feud. I mean, Kim and Kanye are against Taylor Swift because, like, you know, Kanye had the song, I Made That Bitch Famous. Taylor used like, what was it, a Grammy acceptance speech or something to like call him out. Turns out she knew about it the whole time and gave her like endorsement to it. And Kim finally dropped those receipts, but only after Taylor had been like, blah, 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 talking about it constantly, entrenching herself in that victim narrative. And Kim was just like, like it was recorded. It wasn't even like a text that maybe someone could Photoshop. Receipts. And we have not heard one word about it from Kim or Kanye since. And that here is the point. We have heard Taylor bring this up. I mean, she made an entire album about this. The whole last sector of her career, the Reputation era, the Reputation tour, like that was all a response to this. I mean, I get that there's something to be said for like reclaiming a word, like the snake thing was her like her little symbol for the last tour because people were calling her a snake. Like, Taylor, if you find emojis like bullying, it's an unkind emoji, girl, you are not ready for prime time. Yikes, you might be in the wrong business. Because, okay. But like, Taylor really stepped inside of this feud and like lived the label in a bad way. And so when she talked to Vogue, she was like, you know, I had to write an album about it for my own mental health. I mean, she was using words like mental health, canceled, kill yourself, just these catastrophizing phrases, you know? And that to me is very significant because that is legitimately how she thinks of this. It's the biggest and worst thing that has like ever happened to her. Meanwhile, like I said, Kim, I think she talked about it like once, like over a year ago, like she touched on it and she has never brought it up again. She is moving on. She's moving forward. She's moving up. Can you imagine if her entire like makeup line or her shapewear line was like aimed to be a dig at Taylor Swift? That would be weird. And people would call her out on it. They'd be like, get a life, like move on. And I think maybe it's significant to be like, Taylor, just like let it go. So what does this have to do with our own lives, you know? Because I really wanted to use these two women as an example of like how to play it and how not to play it. Because we are prepared for mean girls and bitches and like that whole like cafeteria drama when we're that age. And it's really hard when we grow up and we still encounter it. Because I get a lot of questions from you guys about this, a lot, where it's like, I'm an elementary school teacher and these other teachers, like they hate me and they're just mean to me. And I've literally never done anything to them. Like it's a lot of times coworkers, or it's like a group of friends where like maybe someone new comes into the group and she's mean and no one's standing up for you. And you're just like, what is happening? Or someone who you thought was your friend actually isn't. And like, well, we'll go into my own experience on this in just a moment. But I think it's significant to differentiate between haters and people who simply don't like you. Like there was this one girl who may or may not have been on my TV show with me. And I was on an MTV reality show called Downtown Girls. And it's like a tree falling in the forest. Like, you cannot find it online. We were all the other day, we're like, did we like hive mind hallucinate that we were actually making the show? Because there's no trace of it. Didn't happen. But she would always be like, you guys are haters. And we're like, we're not haters. We don't like you because you're conniving, because you're two-faced and phony, because you talk shit about us behind our backs and then are like trying to be friends with us. Like, we don't like you for A, B, C, D. Like, I can make you a bullet point list with Roman numerals if you want. So like, a lot of times I hear like, they're haters. I have haters. No, you have people who don't just want to be around you. Like, because it's important to remember that no one above you is coming for you, right? No one above you is coming for you. When people chirp me on the internet, they never have more followers. They never have more subscribers. They're not doing anything with their life, period. They're hiding behind an avatar and a keyboard, sniping at me because they like Selena Gomez. I'm like, I could give it, like, okay, whatever. Like, you aren't a threat to me. You're a mosquito and I'm the big baddie. You know, you're just merely like an annoyance. But to you, I am like this huge, enormous threat. Weird how those two things like work. And here's an example. I don't like Matthew Hussey. He literally doesn't know that I exist. You know what I mean? Like, I'm like, boo. And he's like, whoa. You know? So like, I do it too. Like, I'm guilty of it. But that's the thing. Like, I'm not turning my attention to someone who's not as far along as me. I'm trying to take down the next man standing because I am a hater, because I'm jealous of his success. And I think it should be mine because I think I'm better at what I do than he is. And I think my accent is better. And maybe I'd be a better boyfriend to Camila Cabello. I don't really know, but I kind of think I could treat her better. Ironically, that's a song sung by her current boyfriend. I could also be a better girlfriend to him. I'm all things to all people, all right? So if you're like, before you say like, I have haters, first of all, if you tell yourself that, then you're entrenching yourself into a victim narrative, okay? And nobody likes that. And then that's just going to make it even true that no, they're not hating on you. They're not like hating on, because the end of that sentence should be like your success, your hard work, your achievements. If you can't finish that sentence, they're hating on my good thing, then no, people might just not like you. And you know what? Sometimes that's how it goes. Sometimes that's the way the cookie crumbles. And I have had to get real comfortable with the fact that not everyone's going to like me. Like, I know that I'm like a big personality and big symbols make big targets, you know, and that's fine. I don't need everyone to like me, and you don't either. You don't either. But what if the people who are coming for you are just mean girls, just catty mean girls who you have not done anything to that you're aware of? Because if someone has a legitimate reason to be mad at you, if you really did do something to someone, an adult would communicate that. Shallon, I didn't appreciate it when you slept with my boyfriend. I understand where you're coming from. I'm going to keep on doing it, but I get it. You know, but if they don't have anything to pinpoint, and if there's this sort of hive mind mentality of excluding you and being mean to you, talking down to you, oppressing you, whatever that is, that could, I mean, yes, that could be haters. You know, weak women, when they get in a pack, they're more oppressive in so many ways than weak men. You know, because we don't identify them as an enemy the way we would identify a bunch of weak men and their weak chins and powder blue button-ups from Brooks Brothers, like doughy, fleshy bodies voting for Mitch McConnell. Like, we don't see the threat as what it is. We see girls and we're like, oh, pack, a crew, a clique, a tribe. Females are pack animals, and social inclusion is one of the most fundamental needs we have. Right? Just as human beings, and certainly as females. It takes a village, all sisters, blah, 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 sisterhood. So when we get rejected by a group of females, it is like a poke to our psychological underbelly. And one of you guys said this to me, because we'll get there. You're like, for women to exclude another woman is one of the cruelest things that a woman can do to another. Like, it is worse than like sleeping with her man, because then you can vilify that woman and you'd be like, see, she's just a bitch and a slut. But if they exclude you, it's like, I'm the problem. What's wrong with me? It taps into our most basic worries, which is, I'm not good enough. No one's going to like me. If females don't like me, why would men like me? Maybe it's tapping into issues you had with your mother or your father or your sisters. Like, it's significant and it's big. And a lot of times when you guys message me, like I really try to get to like the bottom. It's like, okay, well, did you do something? And not like anything's your fault, but like when we find ourselves in a place we don't want to be in, we really have to acknowledge, like, did I do something to precipitate this? You know? Because if you don't, you're not going to change anything. You can't change what you don't acknowledge. And again, you're just going to entrench that victim mentality. So if you're not willing to do an autopsy of your own behavior, you're going to keep, the behavior is just going to keep reoccurring, you know, to some degree. You know why else I bring this up? Here it is. I was excluded from my sorority reunion. So we got to go back. We got to take it all the way back. Not just to 2 years ago when the first reunion happened that I went to, but all the way back to college. I didn't love college. I went to Cal Poly, San Luis Obispo. It's an excellent school, but it is out in the middle of nowhere. And it is a country school with country mentality, you know? It was a big ag school. And like now, after living in New York for so long, like I would love to spend like a few years in the country and like just people my own age and like doing that thing. But at the time, I really wanted to like branch out. I was ready for the big city. And it's like, no, I'm gonna have to put that off for 4 more years. So I didn't really ever feel like I belonged. And I joined a sorority. I was a Gamma Phi Beta, but I still didn't feel like I belonged there, you know? And I know after doing an inventory of my own behavior that I was kind of not making that easy on myself. You know, like it was a little hard to love me. I wasn't like bad, but I was on like kind of a different path. Like I was really into like experimenting, like new kinds of music, new kinds of clothes. And like that was not what it was. And you should know, if you're thinking about joining a sorority and you want to be the weird one, you're going to have a shitty 4 years. You are. There isn't like the goth sorority. There's not like the emo prom queen. Like that's not a thing. I mean, I've never seen it. You know, if you are a very like middle of the road kind of person, you're going to have a good time. But if you're not, or maybe not fully, you need to make other friends at least. And I realized that, and that's what I did. I joined ROTC. I did rodeo. I did improv team. I did belly dance. I did theater and stuff. I volunteered. And that almost made it harder because it's a small town and your reputation follows you. So it's like I was too sorority for the theater people, and I was too theater for the army, and I was too army for the sorority. And it's just like I had a foot in every little clique, but I didn't feel like one was like my home. And it was very lonely in a lot of ways. And I had like my core best friend, we'll call her Goose. That was my nickname for her in college because she always said she looked like a goose in photos. And then we had kind of like the Goose crew. That's what we're going to call like my group of friends for purposes of this video, the Goose crew. So it was like her little sis in the sorority, someone else's little sis. Like there were like 4 of us. And we're still good friends to this day. Like we're on the group thread doing all that stuff. And so I have spent the last however many years since I graduated telling myself, because I didn't want to look back on college and be like, I didn't have a great time and I wasn't really super accepted. I've been telling myself that I was misremembering. No, Shallon. Everyone liked you. And I was like, no, I don't feel like they did. It was always these 2 ideas like butting up against each other. You know, I didn't feel accepted in my sorority, and you know, that was difficult. So 2 years ago, we had a sorority reunion in San Luis Obispo, and I was freaking out before I went. I was freaking out. I had split up with my husband not too long before that. And I was just like, great. I get to go meet up with these girls who didn't really accept me all that time ago. And they have husbands, kids, a house, a boat, 2 houses, a Tesla. And I'm like, I'm like Paris Hilton. I'm just this fucking clown. And I was like steeling myself to be sort of like ridiculed for getting divorced. And just, I was really, really nervous. And I had the best time. I'm going to start to cry because this is all just really upsetting. I had a great time, like talking with the girls and like just rediscovering each other as adults, and like girls that I didn't even get to hang out with, you know, in the sorority. Like they were a year younger or a year lower. And it's like, And when I finally like told them about my marriage, and like the support I got was like overwhelming. They were like, I get it. Like by that time, a lot of them had been married since college. So it's like life was underway and all the honeymoon phases had worn off. And, you know, we just really like connected on like a deep adult level. And I left being like, I was misremembering college, or even if I wasn't, things have changed and people grow. And like, man, I wish I hadn't been so like prickly back then. And like, I'm weird. And like, I wish I'd made an effort to connect with these people, like all the friendship that I've missed out on all of these years. Apparently, that was not a two-way street because me and the Goose crew, like our little core, I reached out to one of my other sorority sisters who like I love and I see her when she comes to New York. And I was like, hey, we're thinking about doing a reunion this fall. Me and the Goose crew, like, should I send the email around to? I didn't know if somebody else was maybe planning something and like we could all join forces. And I got like these really vague answers that it made me realize, oh yeah, no, something's being planned and you're not part of it. And I knew she didn't want to like tell me that. And she's like, yeah, I'll forward you the email, I'll forward you whatever we have. And I was like, okay. You know, when you just have that feeling, you're like, am I going crazy or am I not like welcome here? I'm getting like red talking about, I should not have worn red. That was a mistake. And so she forwards me the email. And I thought it was just going to be very like exploratory, like, hey, we're thinking about maybe getting together, blah, 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 blah. Oh no. Spreadsheets, reservations, private chefs, like plans that me and none of the Goose crew were a part of. And the difficult part was it's being called a Gamma Phi reunion. And it's not. If this was just friend group reunion, great, then do whatever you want. But if you call it a sorority reunion and you don't invite really everyone, that's really fucking hurtful. And it's really unnecessary. Because the only two people who weren't invited from our pledge class was me and Goose. And I was invited, we were invited to the last one. So it's like, oh, so all those times that we thought we were having fun with people, everyone was just like in hell dealing with us. I'm an adult and I feel like I'm a pretty socially dynamic adult. And I feel like I have a good handle on whether or not people are enjoying my time and my company. I don't know. I guess not. And all I could think was, I fucking knew I wasn't misremembering college. I fucking knew it. I knew it. This is exactly how I felt. Because back when I was in college, I wrote the sex column. And I was like the Carrie Bradshaw. I called it Sex in San Luis. And it was like the spiciest thing the town had ever seen. The wildest thing I ever wrote about was bikini waxes, so it was not spicy. But I mean, I was a galvanizing figure on campus. The Christian Coalition had shirts that said slut or something like it with like my face on it with the Christians. Okay. But like, so my sorority sisters would be like, they would use me for clout. Like, oh, she's in our sorority. Yeah. Oh, we have the sex columnist. But then they wouldn't invite me to things. And like now it's like, oh, Shallon's doing so well. Like, that's why we voted her future famous Gamma Phi. I was. But it's like, but you still don't want to include me in things. And like, I literally don't know why. I don't know what the fuck I ever did to any of these people. Like, honestly, there's one girl who we had a falling out senior year, but like, it wasn't even me. I still wanted to be friends with her. I have no idea what happened there. And it's like, what did I ever do? And certainly, what did the rest of the Goose crew do? Because me and Goose, we are big personalities and we're like, you know, two peas in a pod. But like the other girls, like they're so sweet. Like they're just collateral damage in this. And I'm just like, man. And so I get a forward the other day, like of the invite. I was like a pity ad at the last minute. Goose was not. And I'm just like, having to ask to be invited to something is like having to ask someone to buy you a present. It's really sucky. Kind of bleeds the fun out of everything. And it's just really, I've just been so upset about this. Like, and I know, I feel weak. I feel weak thinking that. And, you know, part of me is like, don't even mention this. Don't even touch on it because then they're going to know that you care. But I do care. I'm a human being. And like, I thought these girls were my friends and I was really excited to see them. And I've been like wishing them well this whole time. And it's like, well, wow. Cool. I guess that's not, all right. Okay. You know, so, and here's the worst part. Do you want to know the worst part? The Goose Crew, the weekend we were going to go, it's the same weekend. Same weekend they're all going. So I'm like, great. Do we go and look like we're following them to this town of 30,000 people? Or like, I don't know, man. I don't know. Like I still don't have like ill will towards anyone, you know? And I would love to go. And when I got the invitation in my email, my first instinct was to say yes, you know? Because I went down the list and I was like, I want to see every single one of these people. But like if Goose isn't invited, I'm not going. Like I'm not doing that. I'm not like a Benedict Arnold. And then I'm like, why are we even having this kind of dynamic, you know? Like, so this is me, Kim Kardashian this. This is me speaking on it. And I'm not going to speak on it anymore. And I don't know how to respond to the email. I don't, you know, without looking crazy or mean, which I don't feel mean. I just feel hurt and I feel excluded. And I don't understand why. I just don't understand why. You know, if I could point, if any of them could point to something that I've done, you know, that would exclude me from a sorority reunion, not a friend group trip, a sorority reunion. I don't know. It's like you can have all the subscribers in the world that you want, but like people you have invested time in, when that's like not reciprocated or respected, it's still gonna be hurtful. So what can we learn from this? My tale of woe, you know? And I still feel really embarrassed and like I'm ambivalent about posting this because and like don't call them bitches in the comments. They're not. I mean, I guess they are. I don't know, man. Say whatever you want. Say whatever you want. Stand up for mom. But like, I think the lesson is like, not everyone's going to like you. And if you really feel like there's groups of people who are coming against you, stand up for yourself once and then disconnect from them completely. You know, if they're bullying you, the best thing to do is ignore them. Like these girls aren't, that's not what I'm saying. But like, if you're like at work or school and there's like mean girls Regina Georging you, it really is best to ignore them because that shows that you are above them. You're doing something right. But if there's a clique who is just like icing you out, just keep moving on. Keep moving on. Like if you think there's one person you could clear the air with, like who's like it coming from, sit them down and be like, I just don't understand. Like if you don't want to be my friend, that's okay. I just really just need to understand if there's something I've done inadvertently that like is causing this. You know, if there's a splinter in there that we need to pull out, let me know. And if they can't give you a solid answer, like a one sentence answer, then they're just either using you as target practice because they want to be mean to someone because they don't feel good about themselves. Or maybe they just don't like you and the personalities don't mesh and you haven't like seen that. Or they're just fucking bitches. You know, they're just dirty bitches. I don't know. But you gotta just keep moving. It's like with boys. Like if a guy doesn't want us, we could ask why a million times. It's not gonna change anything. It doesn't change anything. All we're gonna be doing is wasting our beauty and wasting our time. So it's better to be around people who do want you. And if that's nobody, it's better to just be by yourself and be at peace than to be inserting yourself in a situation that is not a fit. Tell me about your mean girl situations. Tell me who you think comes out of this Taylor Kim feud smelling like a rose. Because maybe I've got it backwards. Maybe Taylor has monetized a scandal and she's laughing all the way to the bank and Kim just looks super petty. I want to know what you think. And I also want to talk to you guys one-on-one. Find me on the Instant Go app at ShallonXO is my username. And also on Instagram at ShallonXO. And be sure to listen to my podcast, Girl on Top.